Okay, so in this lesson or this short video, we're going to be discussing rates. So what is rates? So rates is whenever we're comparing two units of different quantities or different units, basically. So for example, if we have a question that says if a car travels 120 kilometers in 2 hours, how fast is it going? So this is an example of rates. So like I said, we're comparing two things that are different. And the first one being kilometers. That's the first thing that we're comparing against hours. So those are the two things that we are comparing to each other. So okay, so that's the basics when it comes to our rates. So you could also have something like kilometers per hour. You could have rand per hour. So this dash over here or this forward slash is just for per. So whenever you get your answer, you will say the car is traveling 2 kilometers per hour or the car is traveling 3 kilometers per hour. So that's how you would indicate per hour. So it's literally the same as just saying 60 kilometers per hour. So this is just the same as saying 60 km per hour. It's just a shortcut of how you can say it. Or you can also give an example of like how many pages do you read per minute? So that can be pages per minute or liters per second, how many liters someone drinks per second. So that's just, the basics when it comes to rates. So like I said, rates is comparing two quantities together. So comparing two quantities with different units. So essentially that's what rate does. It's what it compares. So in order for us to get the rate, we have a formula that we can use. So we can use the formula that says rate is equals to the quantity divided by the time or another unit. So it depends on the question. So we'll look at some examples in a bit, but that's how you would normally get your rate. So let's look at example 1. So example 1 says to us that a car travels 150 kilometers in 3 hours. I'm just going to write hours like that. And then they say calculate the speed. Okay, so again, the formula for rate, we have rate is equals to that quantity divided by the time or the other unit. So how would we get the rate? We'll just say rate is equals to 150 divided by 3 because it's 150 kilometers in 3 hours. So divided by 3, and then we would get 50 kilometers per hour. And that's how we find our answer. So the car is traveling at 50 kilometers per hour. So that's how you would get example 1. If, for example, we have another question, which is example 2, that says a person earns 480 Rand for 8 hours. So we need to calculate the rate per hour. Same concept, our rate will equals to our quantity over the time or the other unit. In this case, we have 480 divided by 8 and we should get 60. So that means this person gets 60 Rand per hour. Or you can just write it as 60 Rand per hour, like that. So that's the second example when it comes to our rates. Okay, so that's really it when it comes to our rates. It's a pretty short video because it's pretty straightforward. like I said, it compares two units of the separate quantities, and in order to find the answer, all you just need to do is you need to say your quantity divided by the time, and then the time or the other unit. In this case, we had per hours, so then we just said 480 divided by 8, and then we got 60. And you always have to write down your answer per hour, or 50 kilometers per hour, or 6 books per minute, or 6 pages per minute. You have to indicate this part. This part is very, very important. Don't just get to your answer like this and then not indicate how many, minutes or how many you have to do that. That is very important. Okay, so that is it for this section. It was pretty short, but that's just an overall explanation when it comes to your rate.